Okay, second try at this. I think it's December 5th. Getting dark, but this is my new 62 to 65 Cushman Trailster. The M9 8 horsepower engine with the heavy B block, 2-speed single-ended transmission, chain drive in and out, no belts, 5.5-inch clutch, 12-volt lighting coil. I just got this. I haven't done so much as put a damp rag on it. Folks were kind enough to bring it down in their moving van, and we met them out at Woodland, California. My friend Tom, my old BMW buddy, was kind enough to use his nice Acura SUV to tow a trailer that we rented, and we went out and snagged it and brought it back. This was supposedly running a few years ago, and the fellow who had it was a motorcycle guy, had Nortons and stuff, and but he died, unfortunately, and relatives had it for 2 or 3 years, and I don't know where they stored it or how. It's clearly is kind of a rust bucket, but you know, you could tell that he did some good things. He put an H4 headlight bulb or halogen bulb in there. When I got it, all the chains were all lubed, and the thing rolls freely and nicely. The engine turns over and has some compression, and I'm sure that once we get the plug out, spray a little oil in there, get fresh oil in it, and a good plug, and run it a little bit, we got to get away to pipe fresh gas in it because the tank is rusted inside. But we'll make an alternative tank for static use and get it going with clean gas. And I'm sure that after it's run a little bit, we'll be able to evaluate it better. And then the engine will come out and go on the bench. I'll take the pan off the bottom. We'll just give everything a visual, make sure the oil pump is working properly and the slinger is clean on the crankshaft, and if not, we'll renew the oil pump. Any issues with the valves we can take care of then. We'll get a look at the bore, probably take the head off and get a look at the bore, and then if everything is good, we'll put it back together. If parts need renewing, we'll do that. Of course, we'll go through the ignition magneto, give it points and condenser, set the timing and the gap right, give it a new plug, clean a carburetor, give it service if it needs it, and we'll clean up a little of the cosmetics on this cowl and crap, I guess, while we have it out. Give it a new air filter element, and put it back in the bike. I'm really pleased to get this one. This one with this kind of a grill work on the back part of it indicates that it was made 1962 to 65, and so it's got all the latest model machinery. All this is the same engine and transmission, front brake, rear brake that you'd find in a Cushman Eagle of that vintage, that had a cast iron engine. So that, you know, of course, that's the bike that I would like to have. So I'm really glad to get this machinery. Who knows what'll happen here? The bike will not get trashed. We'll spiff up the bike, and whether the machinery gets grafted into an orphaned Eagle frame, or we just get this real nice and trade into an Eagle with the same machinery, I don't know. The time will tell in the fullness of time. But in the meantime, I'm going to go through this and do all the right things. We'll pull the wheels off, get the brakes and the wheel bearings fixed up, de-rust stuff. I got a big learning curve here on derusting the frame and fenders and chassis. It's not something I really know anything about. But I'm a big fan of evapor-rust. So anything that can be immersed in evapor-rust will get done that way, rather than trying to go at this with, you know, abrasives or acids or some other cotton-picking way of doing it. And many parts of it will be amenable to being immersed in buckets or troughs or tubs of evapor-rust, and anything I can do that way I will, and anything I can't do that way, well, we'll have to do it some other way. The tank's rusty inside. It's got to be cleaned up, and the way I've done it always before, with sharp gravel and dilute phosphoric acid, shake it around, get all of the loose rust out of it, then neutralize the acid, rinse it well with water, hang it on the line in the sun for a couple of days to dry it out, and then coat it either with 3M fuel-proof coating, which is my favorite, but, you know, nasty, stinky industrial kind of stuff, or else the Cream's tank liner, which is, I think, less toxic. I've only used that stuff once. I've used the 3M stuff many times. So, I don't know, at this time, I think, because I have several gallons of evapor-rust kicking around, I'm going to fill the tank with evapor-rust and maybe sit it on top of a radiator heater, get it up, try to get it up to 90 or 100 degrees, and get the rust out of it that way. And I want to do that until I've got the tank coating material in hand to do. So, you know, and there's just lots of going around to do here, but I'm going to put some street gearing on this. This is basically all of the machinery that was in a Highlander or a Road King or even an Eagle, and the frame is very similar to a 58 Highlander. It's just that it's got a little shorter wheelbase. This scooter is just a fraction under 6 feet long total. So it'll go in a 6-foot bed pickup, and you can shut the door on it. And I'm sure they had that in mind when they did that, because the Highlanders and other scooters that have a longer wheelbase. But I think with street gearing, there's no reason this thing can't scoot down the road at 45 miles an hour or so. I don't understand. I'm not a Trailster guy, and you know, I'd never really thought about getting a Trailster. Why they don't have a throwout bearing and a foot clutch or a manual clutch on this thing? It's got the 2-speed transmission, and it's the same clutch. You can see the 3 holes here where the little legs for the throwout bearing would work, but these things were supplied with no manual clutch release. And so I can't even figure out how the heck you're supposed to ride it. I guess you just go balls to the wall and then slam it into the next gear, but that's awful crude, and I really can't feature it. You know, you say, well, you let the engine slow down until a clutch disengages. Well, that's going to be about a half a mile an hour on this thing, and meanwhile it's slowing you down. So it doesn't make much sense to shift into a higher gear when you've come almost to a complete stop. So I frankly don't understand that, and I hope to see somebody riding a stock Trailster so I can understand how the hell that works. But anyway, here we go. M9 heavy B-block engine, expanding front brake, 2-speed transmission, a late variety one, 12-volt lights. You know, nice. So, and my lots of heartfelt thanks to my friend Tom, who made it possible. I had real health problems the day that I was scheduled to pick this up and could not drive. So he made it all happen, did all the heavy lifting.